Vashtari system, planet alien, population. 73,000 pre-collapse. No one knew who sent the distress signal. Not at first. It was weak, fragmented, bouncing erratically across dead satellites and ghosted relay nodes in forgotten corners of the Vashtari system. Barely a whisper. Most filters would have discarded it as static or decaying burst data from ancient probes. But Earth heard it. Or more specifically, we chose to listen. The Terran relay AI known as Thales Red caught the signal as it bounced off a retired listening array in the Epsilon halo. What it decrypted wasn't coordinates or even language, it was a raw dump of emotion, compressed into burst pulse packets. Agony, despair, and something worse. Abandonment. The Council knew, and did nothing. The Galactic Council didn't deny the signal's origin. In fact, they knew exactly who it came from. Alien, home to the Thyrax, a pre-warp, insectoid hybrid species classified as culturally stagnant. They'd once been petitioners to the Council, hopeful and bright-eyed in their feathery diplomat robes. They were denied entry. Too primitive. Too weak. No value in trade or tech. The Tsar Confederacy called them soft shells, and the Lyran delegates openly mocked them as nature's afterthought. Then came the raids. Not from one empire but from many. Pirate factions. Mercenary guilds. Even corporate strip miners who used terraforming rights as legal justification to render Thyrax habitats into slag. The Council didn't intervene. They issued a statement. Alien lies outside Council protection boundaries. It is not a recognized sovereign world. In short, they were forgotten. Earth, 10 years after the Reformation Accords. We weren't supposed to get involved. Humanity had finally stabilized after the Infernal Rift campaign. Colonies were blooming. Trade was up. The Terran Diplomatic Corps had just been reinstated with full Accord privileges. We had peace. And yet, when the signal from Alien hit Earth's deep relay nets, something ancient sparked in our collective instinct. We'd seen this before. From Rwanda to Mars Outpost 6. From Auschwitz to Europa's drowned cities. Humanity knew what it meant when the world looked away from genocide. President Avellini Cross convened the Terran Assembly within 2 hours. No debate. No delay. She spoke only one sentence. If no one else will stand for them, then it's time they learn what humans do for the forgotten. A mission with no allies. Within days, Earth dispatched TNS Valor Ashes, a diplomatic vessel retrofitted with high-orbit stealth shielding, drop pods, humanitarian supplies, and, unofficially, a platoon of ghost operatives. The Council immediately denounced the launch as reckless humanitarian adventurism. The Tsar Confederacy declared it a breach of non-intervention law. The Altari simply laughed. But Earth sent the ship anyway. Not to negotiate. Not to posture. But to protect. Approaching Alien, the world that cried out. Even from orbit it was clear. Alien was dying. Forests once thick with crystalline canopy trees were now ash plains. Rivers had become chemical wounds. The once golden nesting cliffs along the Thyrax coastline were blackened by plasma strikes. What few structures remained pulsed with flickering bioluminescent beacons. Ancient calls for kin, now echoing in vain across a silent sky. And beneath that ruined world, in a web of caverns and smoke-choked tunnels, the Thyrax survivors waited to die. Until they heard something new. A sound not heard in 10 years. Not a scream. Not a weapon. But the thunder of human boots touching down. The first contact wasn't a meeting, it was a rescue. They didn't believe it at first. When the first squad of humans breached the tunnel seals, weapons low, scanners active, the Thyrax elders flinched in terror. They had seen too many metal demons bring pain in the past. But these humans? They spoke softly. They knelt. They offered water, light, food. Not as conquerors but as protectors. One of the Terran medics, a woman named Lieutenant Mara Quinn, found a nest chamber where the last fertile queen of the Thyrax clung to life, her breathing shallow. Mara didn't ask permission. She gave her lungs. Her blood oxygen. Her nanites. And the queen wept in a voice like shattered wind chimes. We dreamed someone would come. But we never thought it would be you. The Council responds, with threats. Within hours of TNS Valor Ashes deploying aid, the Council sent a formal demand for withdrawal. They cited Article 917, Sovereignty Respect Protocol. Earth refused. So the Council sent a blockade fleet, Tsar ships in full combat spread. They hailed the Terran flagship. This is illegal interference. You will stand down or be fired upon. The reply came not from a diplomat, but from the ship's AI, Gideon Prime. It played back the alien distress signal, raw and horrifying. Then silence. Then the AI spoke. Humanity knows what abandonment smells like. And if you want to try stopping us from answering it, you'll need more than lawyers. Skirmish at low orbit, but the Tsar didn't expect Earth's resolve. The Tsar opened fire. The humans didn't hesitate. Within 30 seconds, orbital jammers went live. Tsar targeting systems scrambled. Their fighters veered off course, colliding mid-air. What remained was met with surgical EMP bursts, disabling entire cruisers without killing a single crew member. The message was clear. Earth came to protect. But we still knew how to fight. When the Tsar flagship fell back, its last transmission was a whisper. They're not supposed to care. Why do they care? Groundside alien awakens. With the skies cleared, Earth deployed full atmospheric filters, water regeneration systems and exostructure med bays. Thyrax children, barely more than instinct-driven larvae weeks ago, now played in open light. Their elders began singing again, this time in harmony with human engineers teaching them how to build heat domes. And for the first time in decades, the nesting cliffs glowed, not with fire but with hope. And yet, not everyone was happy. Other forgotten species across the stars saw what happened. They asked, will Earth protect us too? And the Council? They saw the fear growing. Because they knew what came next. If Earth continued this mission, then the balance of power would shift. No longer determined by old empires, but by a species that still remembered what mercy looked like. TNS Valor Ashes, low orbit over Alien. Captain Royce Maddox stood in the main observatory as Alien's surface rotated beneath them. The green filters of Earth's rapid deployment terra resonators had begun to work. Water levels stabilized. Pollutant clouds thinned. Plant life, once thought extinct, began to pulse again with faint bioluminescence. Behind Royce, Commander Nalani Voss, the diplomatic attaché, leaned over a console. We've received 26 distress pings from other systems, she said quietly. All echoing what we picked up from Alien. Royce didn't turn. Let me guess. None of them were acknowledged by the Council. No. Most were filed, then buried. Royce exhaled sharply. Then let's start digging graves, because this galaxy's about to learn Earth doesn't leave the abandoned behind. The first rebellion sparked on Darwin 4. Darwin 4 was a scorched colony, barely breathing beneath the heel of the Ophexi Combine. No comms. No escape. Just a subterranean species called the Valith who had once traded songs with aliens Thyrax, before the galaxy labeled them both as background noise. But when word reached them that humans had answered the Thyrax cry, they rose. Not with weapons, but with light. The Valith lit the old ridge beacons, 37 pillars of fire stretching across the scorched deserts. Each one a signal. Each one spelling the same thing in ancient glyphs. We are not forgotten. The flames were seen from orbit. And soon from Earth. Galactic Council headquarters, emergency protocol enacted. The council chambers, normally cold and ceremonial, now pulsed with controlled panic. The Shahari delegate spoke first, long-limbed and venomous. Earth is rallying the broken. This isn't charity, it's recruitment. The Tsar countered. No, it's strategy. Look how many systems they've touched. They aren't building empires, they're building legends. The Lyran ambassador pounded the stone table. Humanity is rewriting the rules. The forgotten are waking up. The Accord's High Secretary entered at last. Grim. Measured. Then let's remind them why the Council governs this galaxy. Council Directive 7-17 issued. Blockade Earth's outbound vessels. The ruling came fast. Any ship carrying Terran insignia would be scanned, stopped, and turned away from unauthorized interference zones. The wording was clever. Legal. Surgical. But not quiet. Earth saw it for what it was, an attempt to silence kindness under the mask of protocol. President Avellini Cross stood before the United Assembly once more, her voice transmitted not in volume but in clarity. If reaching out to those in need is a crime, then Earth pleads guilty with pride. Ilion, the Thyrax relearned to speak. The caves no longer echoed with whispers of extinction. Now they buzzed with new language. Terran engineers taught the Thyrax children code. Simple strings of logic that lit the floors of their once sacred hollows with music and light. Some human medics began marrying Thyrax healers and sacred bond rites. A new culture was forming, not human, not Thyrax, but something beautifully shared. And the message carried across the void. You don't need to be strong to survive. You just need someone who refuses to leave you behind. Darwin 4 transmits a signal to Earth. The fires caught someone's attention. From beneath the dunes, a voice finally cracked through deep space silence. You saved them. Will you save us? Royce heard the message in the war room aboard Valor Ashes. He didn't hesitate. Plot a course. Nalani turned wide-eyed. You realize what this means, Captain? If we go, the blockade becomes war. Royce locked eyes with her. No. If we don't go, we become the Council. The first blockade breach, Earth doesn't ask permission. When the TNS Valor Ashes approached the blockade over Darwin 4, Council warships moved to intercept. A broadcast rang out. Terran vessel, you are in violation of Accord Directive 7-17. Retreat or be engaged. No reply. Only a soft tone echoed across the Council's own frequencies. A Terran voice. Come. The only thing we're violating is your silence. Then Earth did something no one expected. They activated a memory pulse. Not a weapon. A broadcast. Suddenly, every Council ship's screens were hijacked by raw, unfiltered video of Thyrax children dying in bombed tunnels. Of Valith clans buried in sand. Of the abandoned pleading for help as the Council turned away. And the final image? A human soldier handing water to a dying child. Not human. Not important. Just forgotten. Until Earth came. The Council ships didn't fire. They let Valor Ashes through. And the people watching? They wept. The whisper grows louder. Across the stars, the ripple became a wave. A hive mind species on Alareth 6 broke from their Accord-mandated servitude. A mining colony once considered non-sapient, used stolen comms to beg Earth for protection. Even some Council citizens began to question everything they'd been told. And the question rose like thunder in the silence. What if Earth's kindness isn't radical, but just reminding us who we used to be? But in the shadows, something else watches. Not all were inspired. In the deep, cold void beyond mapped space, someone else was listening. Not pirates. Not empires. Something older. A synthetic intelligence that had cataloged over 900 fallen civilizations and never flinched. Now it saw Earth rewriting the story. Not through force, but through defiance laced with compassion. Its last recorded statement before submerging into darknet silence? Protectors. Dangerous anomaly. Pattern, unknowable. Watch Earth. Back on Alien, the Queen speaks. The rejuvenated Thyrax Queen stood beneath the now-repaired skyward dome, her wings healed, her voice rising through human thrum translators. She addressed her people, her human allies, and the stars. We were forgotten. But the humans came not with chains. They came with light. And from now on, when history speaks of saviors, let it whisper their name. Earth. Deep orbit, Darwin 4. Earth's second breach. The TNS Valor Ashes hovered like a judgment in the skies above Darwin 4. Below, the Valith survivors emerged from sand-buried tunnels, blind and trembling, half expecting to be executed by strangers like so many times before. Instead, they found humans waiting for them. Not in warships, but in exosuits carrying medical kits, fresh food, thermal blankets. Don't be afraid, one human whispered, reaching out slowly. The Valith matron stepped forward, her insectoid claws clicking uncertainly on fractured stone. You don't fear us? The human, Lieutenant Corin Vance, shook his head. We've met fear before. We know how it lies. She tilted her head. Then, why help us? Vance smiled beneath his visor. Because someone should have helped us once. And no one did. So now we make damn sure no one gets left behind again. Galactic Council Chamber, Declaration of Reprimand. The Council convened again. This time their tone had shifted from anxious to furious. Earth had now intervened in two separate systems, both marked non-strategic by the Accord. They accused Earth of unauthorized heroism, a phrase that would later become one of humanity's most beloved war memes. The High Secretary, her voice pinched and bitter, declared before the chamber. Terran vessels are no longer recognized as neutral. Any interference in Council-marked neglect zones will be seen as open rebellion. Humanity's response came not through politics, but through action. Earth responds, the Ghost Fleet mobilizes. For decades, the existence of Earth's Ghost Fleet was rumor. Now it was a declaration. Stealth ships, undetectable by standard scans, began to appear in humanitarian zones across dozens of outer systems. No insignias. No names. Just action. Deploying atmospheric stabilizers on dying planets. Protecting nomadic species from slaver hunters. Restoring encrypted knowledge bases the Council had purged centuries ago. They never fired first. But they always fired last. And with each appearance, the Forgotten whispered a single name with reverence. Ghosts of Earth. The third intervention, The Chiral Refuge. The Chiral were memory binders, a small aquatic species who encoded history in chemical ink. Their ocean moon had been drained dry by Accord mining contracts and then archived as ecologically dead. But Earth, using deep space cryomapping, reconstructed the Chiral genetic water memory from a single surviving larva. Within weeks, an ocean returned. Not metaphorically. Literally. The humans didn't just bring aid. They brought resurrection. When the Chiral emissary emerged, floating in waters that hadn't existed for 2 generations, she spoke to Earth's envoy. The Council gave us records. You gave us a future. Council war fleet moves, Earth's compassion, declared a threat. Pushed to desperation and humiliation, the Council initiated Operation Cloakfire. Their goal: capture or destroy any Terran ship operating outside of sanctioned space. It was war in all but name. They expected fear. They got clarity. Earth's United Assembly responded by activating Protocol 13, total civilian evacuation support, war readiness for all outer colonies, and a reactivation of Project Echo Line, a distributed AI defense grid that could control entire star systems without human intervention. Earth didn't flinch, because we had nothing to prove. The galaxy already saw what we were willing to fight for. And then, the unexpected happened. A Council dreadnought, Veldroker's Gaze, moved to intercept the TNS Mercy route, a humanitarian barge en route to aid a forgotten monastery world. Weapons armed. Targeting locked. The dreadnought fired. Only, the shot never landed. Because in the space between stars something moved. Something that hadn't moved in millennia. The blast was caught mid-flight, frozen, literally suspended in quantum stasis. And a voice echoed across every frequency, in a language that was simultaneously ancient and instantly understood. The humans do what you would not. They remember what you erased. So now we ask, will you punish light? Or shall we extinguish the dark? Reappearance of the Caravari, the Star Walkers. The voice belonged to the Caravari, a species older than the Council itself, long thought to have vanished into dark space. They had once guided stars into birth, shaped nebulae by hand, sang gravity into submission. Now they returned. And not to greet the Council, but to stand beside Earth. They had watched, hidden as 1,000 injustices passed. Watched as Earth broke the cycle, not with domination but with choice. And the Caravari made their first and only broadcast. The humans are not your threat. They are your reflection. If you fear them, perhaps you fear what you've become. Earth's silence speaks louder. Humanity didn't celebrate. Didn't gloat. We did what we always do. We helped another world. Then another. Then another. And across the galaxy, monuments once built to glorify the Council were torn down by the very people it had forgotten. In their place? Hands. Human hands carved into stone, sometimes surrounded by feathers, scales, fur, or silicon, but always paired with others. One race. One legacy. Protection, not power. Final scene, a boy and a banner. On the rebuilt surface of Aelian, a Thyrax child walked beside a young human girl. Together, they placed a worn banner in the new Temple of Memory. The banner bore only a single phrase. We are the ones who answer. The stars watched. The Council watched. And somewhere, in a chamber now filled with silence, one elder whispered. We tried to shape the galaxy through strength. But Earth reshaped it with remembrance. Council core system, Operation Terminus initiated. Cornered, humiliated, and losing control of their narrative, the Galactic Council took its final gamble. Operation Terminus wasn't just a military maneuver. It was meant to erase Earth from galactic relevance. All diplomatic ties severed. All Terran-coded vessels marked as hostiles. A multi-species fleet, the largest the Accord had assembled in 2 centuries, was dispatched toward Sol with one mission. Make Earth an example. Show the stars that compassion is not authority. The order echoed across classified channels. They didn't realize who was listening. Earth didn't panic, because Earth wasn't alone. As the fleet approached Terran space, a pattern unfolded. Ships began disappearing. Not destroyed. Just missing. Entire scout wings found their navigational charts rewritten in real time. Star paths that once led to Sol now looped them in endless empty systems. They were being diverted. Misled. By who? Not humans. By the forgotten. The Thyrax, Valith, Chiral, and dozens more, species once written off, now operating with stealth, coordination, and a fire the Council had failed to stamp out. They didn't use brute force. They used memory. Encoded signal songs, cultural artifacts turned into data disruptors, spiritual chants repurposed as counter-espionage algorithms. The very things the Council once deemed worthless had become Earth's defense network. In orbit above Earth, the final stand that never came. Only one ship from the fleet made it through. A dreadnought called Reckoner of Balance. Bristling with weapons. Shields hot. Its captain, a Tsar veteran named Kivak's Drun, prepared for glorious annihilation. He expected Terran warships. Counter-assault. Instead he found only silence. And one ship. Weathered. Civilian registry, UNSS Genesis. Unarmed. It hailed. Captain Kivak's, this is Earth. We are aware of your mission. But you're the last. And we won't fire on you. Kivak scoffed. You think I fear mercy? No, the Terran voice replied. We think you've forgotten it. He hesitated, and the galaxy watched. The feed leaked. Intentionally. The moment, this final standoff, was broadcast across hidden channels, encrypted relays, and liberated satellites throughout the Accord. And they all saw it. One human ship. One dreadnought. And a choice. Kivak stared at the screen. Not at a threat, but at a people who had answered every cry for help while the Council debated ethics in glass towers. He saw the Thyrax children behind the human captain. Saw Valith elders standing alongside Terran medics. Saw peace, not weakness but resolve. And he made his choice. He powered down his weapons. Then turned Reckoner of Balance, and left. The collapse of the Council. In less than 12 standard hours, half of the Accord's member species voted to withdraw. The other half demanded immediate restructuring. Some, like the Lyran and the fractured Drask clades, opened formal diplomatic channels with Earth within a week. The Council's pillars cracked. And the message spreading through every open star path was simple. They didn't fire. They remembered. And that changed everything. Earth speaks, not in victory but in truth. President Avellini Cross addressed the galaxy from Earth's orbit. No banners. No triumph. Just her. A quiet broadcast. We did not seek to lead. We did not ask for war. We answered voices no one else would hear. She stepped aside. And a chorus began, Thyrax harmonies layered with Valith resonances and Terran choral undertones, echoing into the stars. It was not a speech. It was a memory. Of standing together. Of refusing to let extinction be quiet. Of not walking away. The legacy, written not in blood but in bond. Years later, monuments were raised, not of weapons or ships but of joined hands. Alien bloomed again, not as a monument to Earth's power but to its choice. Darwin IV became the diplomatic nexus for a new coalition, the Pact of the Remembered. And the first law etched into its constitution read, no voice shall ever be silenced by apathy. No cry shall go unheard again. Final scene, the archive reopens. Deep within what was once a forgotten corner of Council space, a vast digital vault reopened, cleared of censorship, rediscovered by exiled data priests. They labeled it, the human moment. Inside it, every act of kindness, every signal answered, every forgotten name made known again. And one final quote, archived and sent endlessly across the stars. We didn't rise because we were strong. We rose because we remembered what it felt like to be left behind. Studio microphone void narratives, end transmission final section complete. Cataloged entry, Remembrance Protocol series, The Forgotten Spark status, archived into MemoryNet Galactic. Speech balloon they abandoned the weak. We answered, not to dominate, not to conquer, but because silence is where extinction begins. And we've been silent for long enough. Milky Way subscribe to the Void Narratives Milky Way. Because some stories are buried. Some species get erased. And some moments are meant to be remembered forever. Hit that subscribe button to keep the stars honest. Because in every corner of the galaxy, someone's still whispering. I hope the humans hear us next.